I just want to, we want to share just a few stories right from the outset. God is doing some amazing stuff, and we just want to share a few stories. So for those of you guys that said you would come and say something, could you just run forward, please? Super quick. I think, Jack, you were going to come forward, weren't you? I think Alison's going to come and say something. Scotty, did you want to come and talk about your shoulder? Fantastic. Excellent. Who else do we? Yeah, no pressure at all. No, it's all right. It's all right. Don't worry. You can wear his hat. Alison's going to come forward. I was going to. Phil, did you want to share about what's up with Tasha as well? Did you want to come and talk about that, or does Tasha want to talk about it, or? Right, okay, cool. Do you want to talk about that first then, Phil?
Yeah, okay. My daughter Tasha's had a bit of a rocky relationship with God recently, and she's recently been banded for social housing, and she came to Dave last week and said, Dave, I'm not talking to the man upstairs, but will you pray to him for me, please, because I need a house. The next day, on the bidding system, a house popped up, and she's like, oh, 2-bedroom house. They don't come up very often. And she's like, fantastic, great. And she's put a bid in. She's currently number 3, which is fantastic for the first time for her actually going on and bidding. But what we would like is if everybody could pray for her, please, to get her up to number 1. Because she really wants this house. She wants her independence. And while she's out of the room, I can say we want her a bit further away as well. Thank you.
You don't mean that, Phil. I mean, I just want to give an example of that, because this is an example of specific prayer. Tasha wanted something real soon, 2-bedroom house in a particular road, and we prayed that it would happen within 1 week, and it happened within 1 week. And I just want to encourage us that God is an amazing God that is specific in our lives, and we're to pray specifically for things. So, Jack, do you want to share what happened to you?
Hello. A few weeks ago, more than that, I went to Soul Survivor, and on that day, Scotty and a few friends of mine prayed over my arm, because my arm was hurting. I couldn't move it up about this high. And then after they prayed for it, I could move it all the way around.
Jack, grab a seat, buddy. Alison.
Hi, I just want to give you try and make them really 3 quick testimonies. A year ago, for 3 years, we were doing Healing on the Streets. One guy came back and said that he had broken his leg in 2 places. One had healed and the other hadn't healed. And he went to the specialist, and the specialist said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do about the one that hasn't healed. Anyway, he got prayed for, and he went back 2 weeks later for them to discuss what they were going to do with this. And he said, I can't understand it. It is totally healed. So that's one. The second one, the other week, normally we park slightly on the outskirts of Teignmouth, and we walk in, so we don't have to pay for the parking. But anyway, we ended up on the seafront paying for the parking. And as we got out of the car, we almost jumped on top of this poor guy that was on crutches. And we didn't remember him anyway, but we had prayed for him the year before again on Healing on the Streets. And he was in a wheelchair, and he couldn't walk a step. And there he is on crutches, walking at least with crutches. So anyway, we said, wow, and the fact that we turned up on that precise moment, he's on holiday, that a year ago was on holiday, we prayed for him, and a year later, we actually bumped into him. And it was no coincidence, is it? And so we prayed for him again, because what God starts, he will definitely finish. And the third testimony was yesterday. A guy came on the beach, and again, we prayed for him a year ago. He'd had a blockage in his side, and they didn't know what they were going to do. So he went to the specialist, and the specialist looked at it and said, well, we'll have to operate, so we'll sort something out and come back later. So he went back, 3 months later or whatever it was. And the guy said, well, that prayer didn't work, did it? So anyway, he went back 3 months later, and they took an X-ray, and the specialist said, I just need to take another X-ray. So I took another X-ray, and then he said, I just need to get my colleague in. So he got his colleague in, and then he said, well, I can't understand it, because the blockage, everything is completely gone, it's completely healed. And the guy said, oh, well, that must have been that prayer after all. And the guy said in his career as a specialist, he said there have been odd occasions where people have come in, it's like miraculous things. And so just encourage us all to keep praying, you know. And this guy, when we met him, had lost his wife, he was depressed, and now he's getting married next Saturday.
Chrissy?
Good morning. I'm sure that a lot of you have read in the newsletter that my daughter-in-law-to-be, who is 32, has breast cancer. At the same time as she was diagnosed, they were told that they would have to move out of their house by the end of September because the landlord was coming back early from America, which meant that she would be starting her treatment at the same time as they were trying to move house. Well, obviously, we prayed about this, and we've been up to see them last week, and we prayed with them. In fact, we had our little Levi, who is 3, and Joel, we were all holding hands, and Joel was praying just like as he would for a child, or to a child, so that Levi could understand as well. And when we said to them, can we pray with you? They said, yes, please do. I won't go into all the details, but they moved yesterday. The landlord agreed to release them early from their contract. They, against the odds, they got all the financial issues dealt with quickly for the new property. A friend lent them the deposit because they don't get the deposit back on the old house for another week or so. So they moved in yesterday, and Tanisha has her mastectomy and reconstruction surgery booked for the 24th. But they know. I said to Phil the other night when he rang, you know, Phil, this is an answer to prayer. And he said, you know what, Mum? I really think it might be. I never believed in it before. So just pray also that God will be doing a work in their lives as well.
I just want to encourage us all to continue to share our stories. I mean, I've heard of dental problems being healed, shoulders being healed, people with flu being released from it, all in the last little while. So God is an amazing God. He desires to heal. He desires to set free. And he uses us to be part of that. So keep sharing your stories. We'd love to hear more of them.